Hello, magic makers, and welcome back to the Metaphysical Apothecary. We are your hosts, Megan and Shannon. We are also known as the Scorpio Sisters, and we are here to explore the mysterious, magical, and the arcane.
So, as we said, everything has a vibration, and our environment can actually dictate whether our vibration is high or good, or whether it's low and poor. How do you know what exactly in your environment needs to change for your subtle body?
How do you tailor? How do you landscape the path that you are on in life?
How do you tailor your environment to be more conducive to producing a higher vibration? We do that by examining our environment and determining what makes us feel good versus what makes us feel icky. So imagine the last place where you felt uncomfortable. You felt just gross being there. You weren't a happy camper. And think about what you were consuming with your eyes, with your ears, with your sense of smell. What were the textures like, or what was the seating like? Did you feel welcome to sit down? Was it an environment where you were concerned about the hygiene of the space? And just think about how you felt while you were there and the things that you were taking in with your senses. Nutrition isn't just the quality of our physical food and water. It also involves what we consume with all of our senses, but also with our mental perception.
So the last place I was extremely uncomfortable and uneasy that I can remember is at one of the former offices for my day job. There was a great deal of color problems, frequencies that had happened. The environment was never quite clean. I sat underneath 4 vents and my asthmatic bronchitis acted up because the vents were never actually clean. There was always dust and cold air coming through the vents. And for some reason, when you didn't want the heat on, the heat was on. And when you wanted the heat on, the heat was never on. The lighting was subpar. There was flickering fluorescent lights. There were tinted windows, so the sunlight never quite made it into the rest of the office. It only ever got to the offices along that particular wall. And the computers were slow and lagging and bright because they didn't have blue light filters. I would have preferred to have sat alone because I am an introvert. So just being around people for too long causes me uneasiness or dis-ease in general. While I like these people a great deal, just expending the energy necessary to be in close proximity and still be social, still interact with them, because it's not their fault that I am an introverted person, was also very draining. And it all contributed to a very uncomfortable, subtle body uneasiness that ended up causing me a great deal of illness to surface because I couldn't address it properly. I didn't have the proper ways to customize and tailor my environment because it was a corporate
So when we consume things with our eyes, ears, nose, and skin, those vibrations have to pass through the subtle body first. So when we're consuming things that are unpleasant to us, they're already causing disharmony in the subtle body, and then we perceive them with our senses as being unpleasant, and it disrupts our vibration.
In this particular instance, I was not as productive as I could have been. I was easily distracted. There was a great deal of underlying business reasons why this environment was also bad for me.
Right. And it's very similar for me. I was trying to think of the last place that I had a very unpleasant experience. And, it was probably the last time I was in an office building. The quality of the lights, we all know how bad LED lights are for mental health. Artificial light is not good for you. And there were banks of windows around the whole office building, but that didn't counteract the LED light enough. It was an open floor plan, so I felt very exposed all of the time. I felt as though anyone could walk up to me at any time, and being an introvert, like you said, that is a hellish experience, just being that accessible to people all the time, or being in a space where you can hear other people having loud conversations or discussing things that maybe make you uncomfortable, like politics or that sort of thing. I was also on the 3rd floor, and you know how they build buildings so that the higher floors can vibrate so that the structural integrity remains intact? we had a few people that were very fast, very efficient walkers. And when they would walk past my desk, the whole floor would shake, my monitors would move, and it left my nerve endings so raw by the end of the day. It's like you said, I was exhausted. I couldn't focus. I was just having all kinds of trouble with my anxiety disorder. My digestion was off. It wasn't good. It's because our subtle bodies are like a sponge. So they're absorbing these vibrations. And with a sponge, you can either soak up things that are good. You can soak up pure, beautiful water that's infused with essential oils and wash yourself off. Or you can soak up arsenic or dirty water or radioactive waste. It's all about what you're absorbing into that sponge in your subtle body and what you're exposing it to. And then that manifests in your physical body, and those manifestations in your physical body tell you something is wrong, something needs to change in your environment.
It's telling you that you are in a deconstructive or destructive interference pattern. And unlike animals, especially wild animals, humans seem to think they have to put up with it.
Anyone who has pets, when's the last time your pet put up with something that was bad for their vibration, that they thought was unpleasant?
Cats, they very rarely allow you to do that. Dogs will eventually get to a point where they will let you know they need you to stop.
Yes.
But wild animals are especially sensitive to these patterns. And when was the last time you saw a wild animal who decided that, you know what, this jackhammering construction site is very
Exactly. They'll run away from those kinds of loud mechanical noises. And it's instinctual. It's a survival mechanism. In general, those kinds of sounds mean danger. So they'll get away from them.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we've made everyone very uncomfortable and made their skin crawl, let's bring it back to a place where we talk about the last time we felt really good. What was an environment where you felt really good, you felt at ease, you were comfortable, you were mentally at peace? Think about the last time you were in a space that was at least moderately comfortable and beneficial. What were you consuming? What was the decor like? Was there a particularly pleasant scent in the area? How was the soundscape? Was there beautiful music playing? And how did you feel in your body when you were in that space? For instance, I'm normally at ease in my apartment. My wife and I have a fairly nice home. But the last time I can remember really, truly being at ease was when I went to one of those isolation chambers that has the super salinated water, where it's 10 times saltier than the ocean. You lay back and you bob to the surface naturally. There's no way for you to sink or drown. It's the perfect temperature. It's body temperature water. They're playing Zen music that you can control. You can turn it on or off. And the light is very soft inside of these chambers. It's very soft. It ripples across the water and over the walls of the chamber. And you can also turn that off too. So I was in control of the sounds, the light, and the smell of the salted water was amazing. And then, of course, there was the sensation on my body of just being held in this warm water that was also so salinated. It left my skin feeling very soft and protected because when you have
I don't have very many of those examples to give where I felt completely and utterly at ease.
Yeah. What about your old apartment or maybe the dorms? I
was more supportive there energetically, but there were still things that I needed to customize in order to have a more constructive and harmonious energy frequencies for my subtle bodies. They were very good, but there was still a lot of improvement. Probably the last time I felt really, 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 really good was I went to a waterfall for a little while. But I really can't give you all of the sensations that I can with the bad.
Well, because there's not as many sensations to absorb, I think. There's not as many sensations that we're going to pick out and isolate.
Yeah, and even then, I would say there was room for improvement because I wasn't the only one there. There was a bunch of strangers around that was causing me some anxiety.
So with these examples, we can see how pleasant sensations generally soothe us, make us feel safe and comfortable, while unpleasant sensory experiences put us on high alert. So if you think about the office environment that Shannon and I described earlier, I'm sure everyone has had an experience with an office or work environment that is not tailored to your sensory comfort. Constantly being on high alert like that puts stress on our adrenal glands. They're working overtime, and our adrenal glands are part of the endocrine system, which is attached to the subtle body. So our adrenaline being high, that stress response, that's one of the signals you can look for that says, hey, there's something wrong with this environment. There's something going on here. Your vibration is off. We need to address this because right now you are susceptible to things like infection and injury. Just thinking about being in an environment that is peaceful and beneficial can have an effect on our well-being. It can help us start to generate a vibration that's beneficial to our bodies.
It helps de-stress the situation just by being able to mentally visualize a place of harmony.
Which is why meditation is so effective, because essentially you're going to a place that is pure serenity, pure oneness with the self, and you are almost working outside in. The root chakra is attached to the outside of the subtle bodies. You're drawing the vibration into yourself, which makes a lot of sense. But since we put out what we attract, you're all surrounding yourself with a bubble of well-being. So one of the other things that can be really important in an environment is smell. Smells are huge for stimulating responses in the body. They're huge for triggering memory. I'm sure we've all smelled something and been immediately transported back to the third day of fifth grade. We've all had experiences where we walk into a room and we smell something that smells like a meal that our grandmother used to make, or a perfume that a loved one wore, or just a favorite smell like the sunscreen from the beach. So when we fill our environment with things that smell good and make us feel good, that's another way we can care for our subtle body and steward our well-being. You can diffuse essential oils or burn a scented candle if you're feeling particularly stressed. It is important when you're choosing smells that there are things that aren't going to be overpowering. There are things that you're going to want to smell for a long period of time. Like if you bring a cinnamon broom into your home, you may love the smell of that cinnamon broom. But if you're sitting there and your eyes are watering because the smell is so strong and intense, then it might be time to put that broom in another room or set it outside until the smell dissipates a little bit and you can enjoy it more. Because if any of these sensations that we're taking in are too intense, it has to pass through your subtle body first, and it's creating all of that jittery vibration still. I've noticed that when I cook any kind of meat in a smaller space, then the smell just lingers. So cooking smells like that can linger in the air, and other scents can too. If anyone has pets, you have a dog, it gets humid and the dog's bed has that smell. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. You're probably making a face. There are simple ways to help that smell dissipate. Obviously, you can diffuse essential oils. We're not going to get into aromatherapy. Not everyone loves aromatherapy. It's not safe for everyone, and it's not accessible for everyone. So one of my favorite tricks is to take a couple of capfuls of vanilla and a couple of capfuls of either peppermint extract or lemon extract. Put them in an oven-safe ramekin and warm them in the oven at the lowest setting and just let that smell diffuse through the house. And it gets rid of anything that's kind of smelly.
I definitely like the scent of vinegar. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. In fact, I know a lot more people who are like, oh my goodness, vinegar. I like vinegar. And I usually add a little bit of either a wedge or two of lemon to it, or if I'm lucky enough, I'll find some pine branches that are fallen from the tree. I'll add that to it. Or I have orange. I add that to the vinegar mix.
So you're nourishing your subtle body by cleansing the energy in the home, and you're protecting your physical body by eliminating any microbes that might be lingering in the air, and cleanse the energy in your home.
Vinegar is an ally.
Yes.
So these are just a bunch of ways you can take your environment to nourish and influence your vibration. There's a lot of stuff that we've covered that is about making your environment more comfortable, but honestly, that's what well-being is all about. It's about enjoying the space that you're in and the entities that you're in it with.
That's all we have on the topic for today. Thank you so much for listening in, and we hope you'll join us again next time. In the meantime, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and go to our blog for some more witchy wisdom, as well as check out some of our original art on Society 6 for sacred decor and more. Thank you again for joining us, and go make some magic and live your best life. Bye.
Bye, everyone.